Hey guys, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome back to another edition of Mafia Roundtable. This is Dominic Sicali, and we have Jeff Nadu from the Sitdown. Hey Jeff, thank you for coming on, and it's good to see you again.
It's good to see you too, Dom. I really appreciate you having me on. I really enjoyed when I spoke to you the first time, and I'm excited to talk to you again. Thank you for having me on.
Yes, and people go to Jeff has a great channel, the Sitdown. Go does excellent reporting on different stories entailed with the mafia, and he's very accurate. Of course, every once in a while, I'll make mistakes. We all make mistakes, but his content is 99% accurate when he speaks. He doesn't try to enhance or embellish. He just tells it the way it is. So very informative. So go watch Jeff at the Sit Down, and you'll love his show.
I appreciate that, Dom. That's very nice. Coming from you, a guy that was in that world. Look, I'm not in that world. Never was. Never claimed to be. I just have an interest in this stuff, and I thank you and people like you that are willing to come on here and tell us about your stories and your life and experiences. So I appreciate the kind words.
Well, I appreciate that as well. With that said, let me thank our sponsor, EG Vodka. Go to egvodka.com. You could order it. We're in 15 states that we could deliver. We're still working on getting the other states on board. Actually looking for the right fit right now to actually that'll be distributing our vodka from a liquor store. So, but the vodka is excellent. It's 100% organic. It's just really good. It's smooth, and you'll enjoy it. I'm a vodka drinker. Every time I'll be sitting at a bar or something, somebody will order a Tito's or a Grey Goose. I'm like, whoa, 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 try this EG. And I tell the bartender, just shake it up, give it to them chilled. And they're like, no, 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 I don't want it. Please, just try it. They try it. They're like, oh my God. I had one guy tell me, can I buy a case? I said, I don't have a case. I don't sell it out of my trunk. But you could go online and order it. So go to egvodka.com. You won't be disappointed. So with today's show, we're going to touch on a few topics. I think first we're going to talk a little bit about Quiet Dom's son, Nicholas Cirillo. We're also going to talk about, I think we'll start off, Jeff, since you just did the show about basically the naked captains. And then I followed up suit because that was with the Bonanno crime family, Vincent Basciano, and myself. So maybe we'll start there with that story, I think, and just kick it back and forth.
That's I have to say, I've done and went over a lot of interesting stories in this world. I remember one of the best stories you ever told was that Tony Urso story where he gets out of the car and you're just blown away at how he looks. But yeah, that naked captain story is fascinating. I have to ask, and I'm just going to ask, did you sit naked the whole meeting?
No, it was actually everybody who walked in the house. As soon as they came to the door, Vinny greeted everybody. And Vinny said, listen, I know this is out of the ordinary. This is no disrespect. Because remember, at that time in the Bonanno crime family, we had rat after rat after rat. Like it just came in a flood. And the last one was Big James. Big Lou, I'm sorry. James Tattaglione, right. And with that, Vinny wanted to make sure. He said, listen, under these circumstances, it's all about survival. And he said, look, myself included, took off his shirt, pulled down his pants to his underwears and said, look, and turned around. And everybody followed suit. But we actually walked people in like 2 to 4 at a time into the house. It was a house I just moved into in the Bronx. So we knew the house was clean. And, they all understood, but moment, Michael Knows was the last one to walk in. And, him and I don't like each other. We never did. And I was especially looking at his face because I knew Vinny shared it with me, and that was it. I was the only one who knew it was going to happen that day. And when Michael came in, the look on his face, he was like mortified. I know he didn't want to do it. He wanted to say something, but he didn't have the balls to go up against Vinny nor myself. So he just went along with it, but he gave that smirk like, you got to be fucking kidding me. And it was just, but to answer your question, no, we went down to our underwears. We put our clothes back on. I took everybody's jewelry, phones, and brought it downstairs into the basement of the house on a tray. And that was it. And then we had our captain's meeting, our administration and captain's meeting.
I mean, Dom, I gotta ask. I mean, look, I know you're not sitting there looking at everybody, but you are. You're not exactly dealing with. You're dealing with old guys, right? Who was there? Like Fat Tony was there.
Right, Jerry Chili.
Yeah, Nicky Mouse,
yeah, Anthony Rubito.
What are their reactions to this?
They just followed suit. They listen. You know what? I don't know what my reaction would be. To be honest with you, I might take insult. I might say something, but at the end of the day, they knew we had the power. So nobody's going to buck us, and especially at that time, they knew. Vinny had that stigma, or he had the moniker of Vinny Gorgeous, and everybody, like people that didn't know Vinny, oh, he thinks he's a pretty boy. But Vinny was dangerous. Vinny didn't play, and they all knew it. So everybody just fell in suit. They fell in line, and Vinny was good on his feet speaking, where he made people feel comfortable. So, like the people that might have been slighted because of it. I think with Vinny, the way he articulates things, the way he expressed himself, it actually put them at ease a little more comfortable just to put down his pants. And especially he was doing the same thing. He said, "Here, look, I'm doing it myself. This is embarrassing. We're all friends here. We're supposed to rely on everybody. But look what happened. Sal Vitale, Richie Cantarelli, Joey D'Amico, Big Lou, Frankie Copa, Frankie Lino. Everybody ratted. Like, it's just ridiculous. And I'm doing it to protect everybody here in this room. And, you may...
Hypothetically, let's say you do this and someone's got something taped at our balls. What are you doing?
Oh, we're killing them.
In that moment, right then.
We're taking them out. Right then and there, we're taking them out. We're going to take them out. That guy, because also... the meat, I mean, I picked up maybe about 5 guys. No, 5 or 6 guys. I had 5 guys. And it took me maybe about an hour and a half to get to that location. Just to make sure we weren't tailed, no law enforcement. But that's the precautionary measures we had taken. But if somebody was wearing a wire, we were taking them out right there. They would never, they would have been chopped up and taken out in plastic bags or something. But other than that, it would have been it. And then everybody else would have said, "Fuck, these guys aren't playing." But everybody, good.
The meeting itself. This is where Vinny has the whole, nothing skips a beat quote, that whole thing. And he also institutes this kind of, we've heard this before, like the earners and the killers kind of conversation where, like, I know for a fact, like with Perry Criscitelli, he had said many times that Perry's an earner. That's it. He doesn't do anything else. We've always heard over the years that, when you're a gangster, you do both, right? You have to be willing to do both. He really perfected that whole, when you're just an earner, you're just an earner. You're the Tommy Gambino, and that's it.
Well, listen, the way Joe put it together, and a lot of people question some of his decisions, and he's like, you need a lot of ingredients to make a good soup, which made sense. But Vinny's theory was, if there's any violence to be done, I have a group of guys. And that's it. I'm keeping it within that group of a dozen guys, and that's where it's staying. I'm not going to farm it out to somebody like a Perry. I'm not going to put them on the spot knowing, listen, they might do it. They might take on the task because it's easy to shoot somebody in the back of the head to walk them in. But why am I going to put him into that position when I know he's really not a killer? I'm not going to make him feel uncomfortable. What's going to happen is Christmas time during the year, they have to kick up a little bit more money than usual to the family. And that's it. That's their role. If we need assistance in opening up a business or doing something to benefit the family, they'll come up with the money. That's how they'll carry their weight. And it was a good, good protocols he put in place, I feel, just to strengthen the crime family.
But when you look back on that world and you're like a Perry, you're a successful guy. He had restaurants. He was, moving around. He was the president of San Gennaro, essentially.
Yes, he
Why,
was.
why do that? Like, I don't understand why join that world. Like, I don't get it. Is it just for stature and to say that you were a part of it?
Listen, when growing up in New York, um, people want to feel important. They want to feel part of something. The mafia back then, and even now, you have people still joining the mafia. They want to be able to puff out their chest that they're a made guy. They're an honor. It's a thing of honor, respect. I look at it now as a joke because everything's ran amok. The best crime family out there, I would say, now is the Genovese because they're underground totally. And just nowadays, you have so many rats like myself. They're running the streets of New York, New Jersey, doing business, interacting with guys who never cooperated, who are in the life. To me, that's a disgrace.
Mhm.
That's something like I would have never been able to tolerate if I kept it real. And these guys now are just not, in my opinion, they're not quality. They might say the same of me because I ratted, but what they're doing is a lot worse than me ratting.
But Dom, this is the thing that I find fascinating about organized crime in general and really criminality in general, because in really every facet, today's criminal is so different than, let's say, 20, 30 years ago. The same ethics that you would have in the streets, the same protocol you would have is not the same today. People have no problem going up to a car and shooting it up, or a party. Or you look at the mafia, the goalposts have moved so far on what you can and can't do. I mean, years ago, this, even acknowledging you were part of something called the mafia was outlawed. Then it became, well, you can talk about it, but we then take pleas. We don't take pleas. Then you could talk to the police, but as long as you don't put any names in it, or you can actually take the stand, but as long as no one goes to jail because of it. And then, we're at these crazy goalpost moves where, no, if you talk to the police in general, you are breaking the code. It's pretty simple, right? The goalposts have moved so far.
Right. You're right about everything you said, and it's a shame. It's just, what I was told by Quiet Dom, who was an acting boss of the Genovese crime family, old timer, been around forever. He said, Dom, what's destroying this life is the money. People it's about money nowadays, where back in his day, it wasn't about money. It was about honor, respect, doing the right thing. Of course, you're going to make money, but nowadays, everybody's God is that greenback. It's just, it's a shame. It's a shame, but you know what? Everything changes in life. Look at social media. Look at today's society, how fast these kids too today. You see them all with their phones. They're not interacting anymore personally, one-on-one. The neighborhoods, there are no neighborhoods because nobody goes outside. Everybody's on computers, on their phones. So this whole world has changed.
And that's why the mafia, I've always said, has a real age problem. It's a time problem, because when you look at all these charts, all these things we see, the common theme is 80% of the people are over the age of 60, 65. What happens in 20 years? You don't have a bringing up the rear. Who's the people that are going to be the next in line? You don't see 20-year-old kids today wanting to go into the mafia. Back then, people went into the mafia because it was part of the neighborhood. It was just what you did. You were ushered into it through your family.
Right.
These kids today, no one wants to be in the mafia. I heard an author say recently that the mafia is now scraping the bottom of the gene pool. George Anastasia said that, and he's right. I mean, you look at the one or two young kids today in that world, they're fuck ups. They're lackeys. They think they're part of something that just isn't there anymore.
No, I agree. Listen, we had people who were around us in the Bonanno crime family who we would never straighten out. Younger guys. And now all of a sudden here, this one's made with the Colombos. This one's a Gambino guy. It's like, wow. These were guys like, you'll never get made with us. Like, they're just grabbing them and straightening out anybody. Just have numbers. And one thing Vinny did say, because we had when he sat down with Thierry, sat down with other bosses, with the Lucchese family, with Tommy Schatz of the Colombos, He said, why are we trying to push numbers? Let's wait. Let's save them because every year you get 5 guys to straighten out. And they wanted to put a rule, if you don't straighten them out, you lose them. And then he was like, why? There's a lot of guys in jail that are coming home that deserve it. Why are you going to force us to put garbage into this life? Let's put quality into the life. And he made sense. So he had them all agree, okay, if you don't straighten the 5 guys out this year, you could carry it over to the next year and the next. But, Vinny was sharp. He was sharp in a lot of ways. Maybe that's why I was so insulted, so hurt of him just slipping up so bad with Joe Messino on 2 different occasions. But, he's the only one that could answer that. And you know what? Vinny's so good, he'll make you believe he did the right thing when, we did our 2 murders that we committed together, they were unsanctioned hits. So why go tell the boss that we did it? If they're unsanctioned, that could get us killed from the rip. Why tell Joe Messino, yes, we did it? So it just makes no sense with that.
Let me ask you, a lot of people, I've heard mention this a lot. All these guys that get out, you mentioned Tommy Schatz. He just got out of prison. We've first seen over the years, Gene Gotti, Joe Watts, Joe Waverly, all these guys that get out, these old school guys. Bruno, Bruno.
Right.
They're all stone cold gangsters, right? That's all they know. That's all they've ever been around. But nowadays it's so different. Do you think they're just recognizing that essentially, hey, it's just probably time for me to take what money I have left and just try to live it out with my family? Because most of these guys did most of their adult life in prison. Is just to that point now. I hear all the time, is Bruno getting back in? Is this person? And it's like, well, I wouldn't think. I mean, what are they getting back into exactly?
Listen, guys I could speak for Bruno because we were that close. Bruno needs to step back. He has some big earners with him that go back with his father in his father's days. So he could basically get whatever he wants financially to start whatever business he wants. Bruno just needs to step away from it. He's a legend, great guy, funny. But, his next pinch is definitely a death sentence for him. He's what, in his 70s now? Late 70s, middle 70s? And he has to realize it. The life is over with. Especially, listen, I'm going to call it the way it is. Bruno also knew and felt the same way that Michael knows is the biggest jerk off out there. Because Michael is known as a wash woman, somebody who likes to gossip and talk. Michael never, when everybody was out there, Michael was only an acting captain for Patty DiFilippo because Patty went away. That's the only reason why he became his acting captain. Michael would have never elevated to anything other than that. He's just, as you saw what he did with the wake. It's the Grimaldi wake, if I'm correct. You send people to a wake where there's family members, there's children, there's mothers, there's grandmothers there. Like you're just a moron. You don't know the life. You don't have the respect for the life. But Bruno just needs to step back. So Anthony Donato's another one who just came home, or he's in a halfway house. They all need to step back and reevaluate. And if they don't see what's going on, if they don't realize it, then shame on them. Because the life is not what it once was. It's nowhere near it.
No, it's not even close. Let me ask you, Adam, because I always have had kind of burning questions, and I don't want to turn this into a Q&A, but we're kind of on these topics, and it's interesting. When you look at Vincent Basciano, we're talking about getting out. Basciano has gotten some interesting things that have come out recently about his case. He's calling for a new trial. What do you think ultimately happens there?
He has a fair judge, Judge Garifas. He was my judge as well. I feel, and I'm not a legal scholar, but I feel he does deserve it. He has the merit. He has the issues. They violated his Fifth Amendment right. And he does deserve a new trial on that case. But people have to realize also, Vinny still has another life sentence on a different case, a different murder. But the judge should give him a new trial. I feel give him his day in court. Hopefully Vinny will plea out. He'll come to a plea agreement. But like I said previously, I don't want to have to testify against him again. Knowing Vinny, he'll look to fight it. Who knows why? Hopefully he won't. But if I have to testify, I'm going to testify and tell the truth. My obligation is to the government, the judge. They gave me my life back, and I'm always going to tell the truth, even though I don't want to go on the witness stand again. I feel I'm so detached from that lifestyle. I'm a civilian. I have to think like a human being, not a gangster anymore. So what would a civilian do? They have to do the right thing. Vinny, don't let anybody fool you or let him fool you. He's a stone cold killer. He has way more than 2 bodies under his belt, and he pulled the trigger on all of them. But you know, I would love to see him home one day, that he's with his family, and that would be a detriment for me because he's the type of guy, he'll come looking for me. But I still have compassion. I still care about the guy. We had a lot of great times together. And you know, it was just business. It wasn't personal. It was business. I chose a different path than him.
I guess, Dom, here's what I'll ask you. And I think this is always the burning question from a lot of the people that watch these shows. And they say, well, if you loved him and you did all this together, you made all this money together, you knew what you were signing up for, you yourself. Why'd you do what you did?
That's a great question. Maybe I got tired of being used because I was so blinded by him. I loved the guy so much. I would go to hell and back for him. And then sitting back in the jail cell where he's supposed to be, like, we had a lot of different things going on out there. Personally, he owed me a little over $1 million. And then he's supposed to send Jeffrey Lippman $50,000. He said, Dom, we're selling those homes. I wasn't part of it. But he says, I'm going to put $50,000 of what I owe you. I'm going to send it to Jeffrey. I'm like, okay. 3 weeks goes by. Jeffrey comes in. We have the co-defendant meeting. I'm like, Jeff, you got the $50,000 from Vinny? He's like, no. So I'm like, Vinny, what happened? Oh, well, my son Steven had an assault charge and I had to get him a lawyer. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm looking at a death penalty case because of your big mouth. You're taking my money, and because your son needs a lawyer for an assault charge, and then just other things. I mean, our sports book that year, Vinny, what are we doing with the sports book when we're locked up? I don't know. I send word out with a Colombo guy. He gets in touch with Jerry Asaro. So we were partners with him. Jerry came back and said, hey, I sent Vinny $750,000. You guys are up $750. Half of that's mine. When I saw Vinny, I don't know what happened with it. What do you mean you don't know what happened? Here, I mean, they signed buildings out of my name, my auto repair shop. I could go into a lot of things. So I felt like, wow, I'm in here because of the crime family. Michael Knowles dismantled my crew after 2 weeks. That's supposed to be my support. I'm in here because of this family, and yet you're depleting me of all my funds, my crew. You're stripping me of everything. So finally, I just, and then Vinny wanted me to testify on our behalf. We had a big fight over that because he felt Joe Massino, Sal Vitale, nobody could say anything about me. So they didn't know me. And I had a lot of legitimate businesses going on. And I'm like, Vinny, you're going to make me look like a rat. No, Bo, we got to change with the times. You know, they'll believe you. And he went through the whole 9 yards. He's convincing. But at the end of the day, I'm like, no, you're really fucking me over, like, here. And I just got disgusted. Like I always say, I have no excuse. I took the coward way out, and that's what it is. So I chose my path. I took my escape route, and that's it. He stayed true to the course. He's a man's man. I got to give him that.
Do you think that you've talked about your early career? You were with different people in the Genovese family, and then you mentioned you went into the Bonanno family. Do you think if you'd have stayed with the Genovese family, it would have been different?
I don't know, because with the Genovese crime, I'm sure I would have never ratted. Well, I could never say never because I don't know the future. But Cookie Durso was with Patty Falsetti, and that's the group I fell into. But I would have probably been with Ernie a lot more. But I'm sure he would have kept me closer to Patty because they're close. and I could have been caught up on that tape and getting pinched a lot sooner than I did, but it wouldn't have been a life sentence. I know they would have had my back, my support, everything I had going on legit in the streets. I wouldn't have lost. They would have looked out for me because they're all, I think they have much better structure as far as looking out for one another. They look out for their own, like it should be. It's a support.
Do you think that because I think one thing you just said that's really interesting is when you think about all the people you just talked about, Falchetti, Ernie, now allegedly, according to the government, they are in the mafia, okay, and they are on the street. Fat Andy Ruggiano once said that a rat is not made, he's born. Do you think deep down, do you think maybe they knew about you, and that's why they ushered you somewhere else?
I have to disagree. I think there was a lot of conflict with Hippie and myself. Ernie, put it this way, I know he was brokenhearted when I cooperated. I know that for a fact, and I'll come out with that later on. But he felt that Vinny, because he's more settled in. He doesn't see anybody. He's by himself. And he felt I would prosper a lot more with Vinny. And being I asked to be released. Me. They didn't just say, get out of here. And he told me, he says, if I didn't love you and respect you, I would keep you here. You're here. And I says, I know that. But I says, you know me. He says, oh, I know you too. Like you wouldn't, you're a man. Like I would still do what I want. And I would probably get killed over it. But I don't know about that because remember, I did 10 years for a crime I didn't commit. I had a murder case that they said I ratted on and never ratted. I was facing the electric chair, first degree murder, and I took a plea to manslaughter. And that's where the hippie threw a label on me. I was a rat. And so Vinny's first question in my trial was, did you ever rat? Did you ever work with law enforcement? And my answer was absolutely no. I'd never ratted, never worked with law enforcement. So I think Ernie did it out of love and respect for me, knowing my heart was no longer with them. And he knew Vinny was a big earner. Bruno's a legend. So he felt I would prosper a lot better over there. And, getting back on my feet, doing things, because he knew I was always quick, either with my hands, gun. Like he raised me. So he knew who I was deep down.
We got a $5 super chat from Tony Hansen. He says, great show, fellas. Dom, do you know who owned the huge house in Throgs Neck with the boat dock off of Prentice Avenue? Was it you or someone in your crew?
Off of Prentice Avenue, the only large house, if he's talking about Locust Point, that's Sally Daz. He had a monstrosity over there he built for his family.
Who was just killed several years ago by his own son.
Yes. Yeah, that's a sad one. Jeff, what I'd like also to talk about today too. These guys out there passing false comments. We'll bring up Quiet Dom's son, Nicholas Cirillo, who went out for a pack of cigarettes on Father's Day, never came home. And I told a story about what happened. And it's not hearsay, it's factual. I was there. And I told this story about Nicholas came to see me at the real estate office. He tried basically getting money from me. I wouldn't give it to him. He got loud. Told him to lower his fucking voice. He kept on. And I cracked him. I hit him. Ran to the car to go to get a gun. I ran behind him, chased him down, caught him in between the door of the car and the jam. I was slamming the car door on his legs, beating the shit out of him. Guy in the passenger seat said, Dom, there's no gun in the car. I back up. They leave. With that, bunch of people are out on the street. I leave. Who pulls up right behind me? Vinny Basciano Jr. He was partners with me in the real estate office. He gets out of the car. As he's walking, the cops come, all the cop cars. So, of course, he looked like the suspect. This kid had nothing to do with it. And what bothers me more than anything, these other YouTubers, and I'm going to mention his name, Scott Bernstein, wants to tell his... Well, I got it from a source, Vinny Jr. had an altercation with Dom's son, and Dom's son wound up missing, killed, however he said it. And I'm not quoting. He said it basically in that format. Do you realize your words could be very dangerous out there nowadays? That wasn't true. This kid, Vinny Jr., had nothing to do with that. It was me. That's it. I had the altercation with Quiet Dom's son. Period. Vinny Jr. had nothing to do with it. Never saw him. Never spoke to him. And I said that prior. Why are these people putting out fault? Does Scott need like a pat on the back, or maybe like, okay, Scott, do you need to be validated, Scott? Like, I just don't understand it. That really bothers me when people are inaccurate with stories. And especially, you could jeopardize somebody's life because you're saying you have a source. What source? I'm telling you the facts. I was there. It happened to me. It was my altercation.
Yeah.
So, and I don't understand it.
Here's what I'll say. I'm very close to Scott. I talk to him pretty frequently. Scott maybe got his information. Look, we all get information from people, right? I have people down that email me all the time. Hey, this happened, this happened. I'm a little bit more selective on who I'm listening to sometimes. I don't know how Scott does things. I think it's a little different for all of us. But I'll tell you what we should do, Dominic. We should get Scott on here at some point. And
definitely. I'm always open for that. Great suggestion. I'm always open for that. And trust me, I might be mad at him. I don't know him, so I can't say I don't like him. But I'm always open for a good debate, going back and forth. I like it. Just, and maybe he might say, oh, shit, he's right. Because I look at it, he knows we have a relationship. He could have reached out to you. Could you ask Dom if this is true? Like, be accurate when you're speaking. Like, I'm going to make mistakes. Trust me, it happens. We're all human. But at the end of the day, what you're saying, and especially I did a story on it. So if you do your research as a reporter, as a journalist, just make sure you're accurate. We know you're not going to get everything right, but come on. There's a lot more.
What you're talking about is basically that the comment, and this is not just, I think I've even said that. I think we've all said it. The general thought is that the reason Cirillo may have been killed is because he got into an argument with Basciano's kid. And all of a sudden the kid turns up dead. Dominic Cirillo doesn't do anything about it.
Right, but Jeff, that never happened.
Yeah, I hear you. You're
there was never an argument with him. It was with me.
Yep.
The whole argument was with me. And one day I will release the truth of what happened, how it happened. I'll go into that. But, like I said, I have a lot of respect for the father. So, hopefully, I don't say hopefully, but as long as he's around, I'm not going to break the story unless something pushes me to do so.
So what you're doing is you're righting the wrong of what actually happened. It was you got into an argument with Cirillo.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. This Vinny Basciano Jr. was never even met the guy, never even spoke to him. It was myself, and I put my hands on Cirillo. And what Cirillo did afterwards, well, it'll come out later on. But they called for me within about a half hour. I was sitting down with a representative from the Genovese crime family. Vinny was there, Michael was there, and they're like, Dom, what the fuck happened? Like, they're calling us frantic that you're going to take out this kid. And I told him what happened. I said, no, I'm all right. I'm okay. He didn't put his hands on me. He just got disrespectful with his mouth. I cracked him. I went after him, and I beat the shit out of him. And then one of the representatives in the Genovese crime family said, do you mind if I bring him here so he feels comfortable? I said, no, bring him. And I told him, I said, Nick, I have no problem with you. He said, Dom, listen, the kid was a junkie. My father was a junkie. And it bothers me to say it, but it's the truth. But they used to stay together. They used to do drugs together and party together. This kid, Nicholas, didn't even know my father was Donnie Sicali until that sit down. He's like, Dominic, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that was your father. I would never came to you like that. So with that, I'm like, Nick, it's all right. Go ahead. You're a son of my brother of mine, which is Dom. Go ahead. It's all right. It's no big deal.
And so, Dominic, and I'm sure people are going to wonder this. So we all know this kid turned up dead, and we all know what Vinny said in.
Well, not turned up dead. They never found him.
Well, we can
He's
assume
still missing. Well, he could be in Costa Rica. Come on, he could be living it up.
I guess you're right. That's true. In a court of law, we don't know that he's active. But let's assume that he is disposed. Right. He's 6 feet under, or in an ocean somewhere. What happened there? Do you know?
Yes, I do. We will. That's for a later time. That's for a later time.
Fair enough.
So,
$2 from Chronicles. He says, Dom, it's Cricket. I DM'd you, emailed it.
Oh, yeah, Cricket. I did time with. We were together in Arizona. Mexican Mafia, great guy. Really sharp, smart, and I think I have to get in touch with him. He's doing things with kids and trying to educate kids about the life, and that's what I want to do. Try to help people as well. But it's about it.
Hit him up. 5 questions, Dom, I have for you. Kind of
sure.
Rapid fire. Nicest person you ever met in your life?
The nicest person. Well, there's a couple, so I'm going to say it. Tough Tony. Cirillo.
Perone?
Yes. Perone. Perry. With the bananas. Yeah. These are guys on the street in jail. Louis the Don. Alfonsiska. And I would say Mickey Boy Paradiso. I just had and I know Mickey Boy is probably the wild card there.
Wow!
But I had such a good relationship with him. Even Vinny would send me to go, Dom, you have a relationship with Mickey? So he knew I was close. You go speak to him. But we had just that rapport.
We've heard he has a very high temperature. He can go crazy. But I've also heard he's a lot nicer in his later life. So maybe you're right. How good was Tough Tony's restaurant, Dominic? Did you ever go there?
Yes, I like the food. I think it was really good. And Tough Tony is just a class act. He didn't wear his badge on his shoulder. Even when I was introduced to him, Vinny introduced me. At the time, I was a captain. He's like, Vinny, that Dominic's a man. That's all that matters. He's our friend. He's a man. Like, he didn't care about titles or anything. He was just secure with himself, and I love that. I love that with people.
Who was the scariest guy you ever been around?
Scariest?
Yeah, like
most dangerous. I would have to say Big Ernie.
Okay.
I would say just very quiet. Just his look will, and tough with his hand. Even nowadays, he has to be in his 80s. I'm in my 50s. I'm still in shape. I would not put my hands up to him. I would not put my hands up to him. That's the respect I have with him. Like I would cover up and let him just punch himself out, and he'd probably do some damage. That's how strong he is. He's powerful. Powerful guy.
If you didn't go into the Mafia, what would you have been?
Oh, you know what? Great question. I would definitely look to get into politics, maybe law.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, definitely. To me, that's a hustle. It's a hustle. That's the real mafia there, the politicians.
Yeah, absolutely. Mythical Z sends in $35 from a different currency exchange. Says, any comments about PJ Picciotti? Have you ever been in contact with him since his cooperation?
No, I haven't been in contact with PJ. I love PJ. I didn't even come out with the PJ stories yet, but we had a lot of altercations out there. Tough guy. I actually made him my acting captain. So, hopefully one day we will be speaking together. It's water under the bridge on my end, and that's it. I think, Jeff, I have some. You have comments there, Maddie? Oh, okay. Go ahead, Jeff. I'll hold my stuff later.
Yeah, there's a couple people just saying hello. Bill Catola's in here. Couple of good guys in here.
Well, give me the bad guys too. I'm okay with that.
Oh, they mostly hate me. which is fine. Not everyone hates me, but as long as you're watching, we thank you. Dom, with respect, what do you speculate Anthony Aiello will be ranked within the hierarchy when he comes out? Which we don't like to speculate. These are active people. We don't know what these guys will do, I guess.
I think Anthony is just, it hurts with him. He's definitely we know he's a soldier. He was in my crew. I actually sponsored him to be straightened out. But he's thick-headed. He'll never walk away from the life, or will stand up for the life, and he'll be back in jail. Just the way Michael knows is probably going back with Johnny Joe because they were caught on tape. But I don't know if he has, I don't know if he has a captain's quality, but maybe one day he might get there. I don't know. I just hope he walks away from the life.
What was the protocol? And I'm curious for this. What was the protocol on when you were kind of active? And this wasn't big then, but it's big now. We hear about they were made inside. Is that something that these families respect nowadays?
Now, what do you mean made inside?
So, like, I've heard of certain individuals that were allegedly, they became members in like a prison bathroom or something.
I've heard that as well. I would not acknowledge it. You're not going to sit down with me. How the fuck could you be made in prison?
Okay.
You know, like, really? Back in the day, I'll tell you one thing, gas pipe, that even Sammy, the old timers were out there. I guarantee you those guys who were made inside, if they came out, they would get clipped. Gas pipe in them, they killed a bunch of guys because supposedly they had the okay to straighten out this group of guys. The guys got straightened out, and word came back, we never gave you the okay to straighten them out. And they wound up killing a bunch of good men. I mean, great men. Because of it. So that's where the difference is from then to now. You had men that didn't play. Nowadays, everybody, to me, is soft. And it's just, I don't want to see anybody get hurt anymore because my life has changed. And especially because I'm a target too. So, but the life is soft nowadays because these bosses don't want to get life sentences in jail. Neither do captains. So let's leave the violence aside. And we'll make our little money, stay under the radar, and do what we have to do. That's the way I think they're running things nowadays.
Well, I think also, do you think the ostentatious behavior of a lot of these newer guys has really hurt their cause? I mean, a lot of these old school guys, look at Carlo Gambino. He lived in a pretty nondescript home. Even John Gotti, for everyone that talks about how he was flashy. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen the house he lived in, but you look at like the guys today. I mean, even Vinny, yourself, Ronnie G, they've got these big monstrosity homes. That's also been very detrimental because we talked about the FBI. They're never going to stop looking into the mafia, and you're almost, in a way, spitting in the face of them. So while there are rats and all these other things, that's also a big fuck you to the government, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. And I was one of the guys. I mean, I had 7 cars, 7 vehicles, building a monstrosity in Frog's Neck where I had my main home that was four stories. And then next to it, I had all my rentals where I took over the whole back. I was taking over the whole backyard. So yeah, where you're throwing it in their face. But people, I didn't look at it that way. Maybe because I had so many legitimate businesses. But when you do look at it, even though I'm making money legally, they still knew who I was. So it's like it is throwing it in their face at the end of the day. So, but you don't look at even Perry. Mm-hmm. Perry's 100% legitimate making his money. He went and put a palm tree out in front of his house. That during the wintertime, seriously, he has heaters with tops over the palm tree so it lives. So
I heard OC Shorts did a great video on Perry, and he talked about at one point, within like a year or two from living on Staten Island, Perry lived in a legitimate housing project. Like he was getting like really cheap, subsidized rent. And he goes from that to like driving a Rolls Royce. And, you're kind of thumbing your nose up, if you will, aren't you?
Yeah. You're right.
Couple of super chats. I always like to shout them out. They're showing love to you, Dom. Tony Gavert, $50. I believe he's Swedish. He's come into my show before. Now, we also have another one. This guy's not very happy with me. He says, Dom, I know you see Nadu's view and sub count, and you both like rap. You think he's good for your show, but it's all fraudulent. Dude's a real piece of shit, snake, and a fraud to boot. He paid $5 for that, so we've got to give him credit. Thank you.
Wow, give him props.
Yes, at least he's watching. You've been in here the whole time. Thank you. Thank you for watching, Chai Hooker.
Listen, what's wrong about rap? What's wrong about rap? Having a good time, putting some bars together?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, what's the beef with rap, man? But if you have any questions, feel free to drop them. Dom, one thing I want to ask you, there's a lot of creators on YouTube now. There's a lot of creators that are not on YouTube. They want to be creators. People like Joe Messino, Sal Vitale, guys that you were around at one point. Why do you think they're not coming out and getting into this business? Because there is money to be made. Why not? Why do you think do you think they're just like, you know what? I did my damage. I'm going to go away now.
I don't know. I can't speak for them. I didn't come into YouTube for the channel, for the money. I did it. A lot of people were misstating things. My wife has sexual harassment thing where it was egregious what's going on, still going on because the case is still active. I want to be a voice for people. I want to do the right thing. It's just, I don't know, maybe, like I say, this is my therapy, being able to talk about it. That's why I love doing the lives. I answer the questions, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. It's just fun for me. Guys like Joe Messino, Sal Vitale, I don't know. I think maybe they're so embarrassed of what they did, how they did it, what happened. They don't come on. But if they did come on, I'm sure they would have a powerhouse show because they're legends in the Mafia. And they have stories after story after story. So, but to each his own. There's people, I know other people too. Who are captains who I associate with, they cooperate. They're like, Dom, it's just not for me. It's not for everybody.
Who's your favorite creator? Do you have one?
My favorite creator.
You watching other channels?
Yes, I do. I would say Michael Franchese. Just because how versatile he is. I mean, he's very articulate. And I had plenty of conversations. I met with him. And I even told him, I said, Michael, I really want to get to know you better because there's a lot I could learn from you. Just the age group and the way he was in the Mafia. I love his content. And then you have guys like Sammy. You have Mikey Scars too. With RJ, their content. I mean, he's just on point. He has a vendetta with Sammy, which that's between them. But Michael's very articulate. He's straight to the point. From when we spoke, we sat down, we met. He doesn't want to play games with people. He wants to keep things straight and straightforward. And I like that. But I would say that those three, those are my favorites.
Very good. Yeah, there's a lot of storylines in the Bonanno family right now. That's the one thing that keeps on giving. People like me that, I don't have these old stories to talk about. These Mancuso stories just keep getting more interesting and more interesting. But yeah, he looks like he's going to be gone for a couple of months. So, or maybe years. Yeah, no. And that was another thing I heard too, where I think it was Scott Bernstein said, Michael when I was out there, was calling me a rat. Number one, if anybody knows Vinny Basciano, all Michael had to say that to him is one time. Vinny would have told him, wait right here, Michael. He would have said, Dom, come out of the car. Michael just called you a rat. He did it with TV. A captain at the time, TV was a captain in the Lucchese crime family. Vinny wouldn't have tolerated it because if Michael was calling me a rat even behind my back and it got back to Vinny's, number one, Michael would never do that. He's not that stupid. But if Michael did and Vinny knew about it, Vinny's going to step to him hard because that's a reflection on Vinny. That's saying Vinny's taking a rat around him, hanging with a rat. And Vinny would never. So
Michael did write, I think, a letter to a woman calling me a rat. Knew I was a rat. But Michael, you're writing a fucking letter to a woman? You're sharing mafia stuff with a woman? What type of guy? You're a boss? Come on, you're a joke. You're a joke in the life. So these are things when we do, if Scott does come on, I'm going to have a blast. I know we'll have a blast. We'll go back and forth with him.
Well,
And I think it'll be a good show.
We'll have to get Scott on because he's always someone who, he likes talking about this world and he likes kind of mixing it up. So I'm sure we can get him to come on at some point. One other question from someone in the chat. They asked, we've seen over the years, this is way back, where a lot of these families kind of coexisted. You knew someone from Milwaukee or somewhere else. Did you have any relationship with any other cities, other than the 5 families? Is that anything that you had?
Just Philadelphia. I had some because when I got out of federal prison in '99, I was in Center City halfway house in Philly. So I was living in South Jersey. So I got close with the Philly guys up there. But never interaction, never doing anything illegal with them. Just got close with them from the halfway house. We remained in contact. And then the guys in prison too. But never did anything illegal with anybody outside of New York.
Fair enough. Well, Dom, I think we hit all our topics, didn't we? I think we
no, Jeff.
Set up before, but
yeah, for my listeners, I'm going to be staying on answering my questions. Jeff, thank you so much. Let's start doing something if you want. Maybe every other week we could come on. I'll come on your show. We'll go back and forth. We'll have open forums, and that's why I created Mafia Roundtable. I would like that integrated, even with the 3 captains I'm looking to put together. I would love to have you part of that as well, where not only sitting down with 3 captains, you're sitting down with people who are basically journalists, reporters who have good questions to ask, who see things differently. And if you see I'm saying something, I want to be challenged if you think differently. And that's what it's about. It's about respecting everybody's opinion, but you could have a healthy debate with one another. And that's what I want.
That's the thing nowadays, in this genre. A lot of people feel like if you ever, Dom, you and I have disagreed. I've disagreed with a lot of people on things.
Oh, I know.
But
there was a few times I got mad at you. I didn't even answer you back. I'm like, okay, all right, I'll get over it.
Yeah.
But it happens. I respect your opinion, though.
Even like RJ, like him and I are very close. We hang out outside of this, and like him and I'll disagree on stuff. I think a lot of people in this genre, a lot of the people that watch it, they think that, Jeff or Dom talked about Scott, so now Jeff's gonna, we don't think like that. I think we're all just kind of smart enough to understand how it all works, and you're not going to always agree on things, but that's what makes good shows. So.
Right. Do you know how boring it would be? Yes, Jeff. Okay, Jeff. Yes.
Yeah.
It's just interacting. It's part of life. Mm-hmm. Nobody's a yes boy here. Like, it helps. It's healthy. So what? We disagree. As long as nobody really crosses that line, I'm okay with everything, really. Only there was one person I think I blocked with just the nonsense was coming out of his mouth was just really egregious. So
who?
I think his name was Doug. A guy, Doug. Listen. They looked at his IP address. I think it was Malaysia. It was hitting Malaysia. So one of those guys. Like, it was just totally disgusting, offensive, and just nonsense. So.
Well, the good thing is, man, I realized this a very long time ago, Dom. I've been doing this a while. Commenters are, they're commenters. That's why they have fake names and no photos.
Right.
We want you to know who they are. And look, society understands that commenters in YouTube chats, some of them are the worst people on the planet. So luckily they've created their own reputation for themselves. So
right.
But hey, look, I appreciate you having me on. It's always good chatting it up with you, and thanks for having me.
No, Jeff, thank you. The pleasure's all mine. And again, we'll touch base. I'll come on your show next if you want.
I have some ideas. We'll definitely do them.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. It's a pleasure. All right. Bye. All right, guys. Now we're here. We're back live. Hopefully we have somebody left. Is there people on, Maddie? Let's answer questions. Oh, my questions or his? Oh, okay. Oh,
So you have a
you have to speak up. Thank you.
Thanks for the
Guys, you need my guys. I'm good with this. Okay. Could you repeat that? The worst and the hardest thing I had to do?
Correct.
Kill Randy Pizzola. That was.
Okay. The rest, he.
Okay. Is there more though? Oh, okay. Guys, thank you. You want to take 5 questions or no? Maddie will.
Yeah, you can. I think there's enough for like 5 questions.
Okay, let's do 5 questions.
So the first one, was just reading it right now.
So, this guy's asked quite a few times. Hi, Dom. Do you know a Ron Burney?
Yes, I know Ron Burney. I used to call him Donkey Kong. That was my boy. I think he moved and got married Malaysia. And I heard he wound up dying, I think a heart attack. I loved Ronnie, great guy. And I'll come out with a few Ron Burney stories.
And Nicholas, will Robert Nino be involved when he gets out in 2028? Your opinion, please.
If he wants to be involved in the Sicali Family Inc., as long as he's legit, he has a home. Next.
They're asking Dom, does Vinny still have a relationship with his longtime girlfriend?
That I wouldn't know. I'm sure he does because they have a child together, so I'm sure there's some correspondence.
And I have another one. Does the Mafia have the equivalent of chief financial officer? And if so, does that guy have to be capable of doing hits?
The Mafia does not have a chief financial officer. But listen, when you're called upon, depends on the boss, you're going to have to do a hit. If you're ordered.
Another question from the Canadian. When are you going to tell stories with Asford? Don't say soon.
With who?
The Canadian says, when are you going, well, actually, when are you going to tell stories we've been asking for? Don't say soon.
Stay tuned. What stories you want to hear?
I guess it's the ones that you say that's for a later date.
Oh,
Coming
okay.
soon.
That's for a later date, coming soon.
No, so.
Okay, they're coming soon. Have some water. Or you know what, guys? One more question. Is there?
One more question. There's a lot. Okay. It's the same one. They did the same one twice.
All right.
Okay. Tony. Yeah, what's my. Okay. Don't want to answer my question. Started to read it. Can you write it real quick again so I can ask it? Because I really don't see it here. And everybody's just giving, a shout out for the great show today.
All right. Well, listen, everybody. Thank you so much for all the love and support. We're going to keep on coming out with more content, keep collaborating with other people as well. And just everybody have a wonderful weekend. Wish everybody the very best. And remember, go to egvodka.com, order your vodka. And everybody also go to alwayslitcigars.com. Order your cigars, hand-rolled cigars. And the Santana Room, if you're interested in sneakers, Nikes, from the knockoffs to the real ones, go to Santana Room and check it out. Really, really good, intuitive on the real sneakers compared to the knockoff pricing and everything. You'll like it. So go to the Santana Room. Tell them Dom sent you, and he's going to charge you more money for the sneakers. No, just joking. You'll get a discount. He'll give you a 10% discount.
He just does reviews.
Oh, he doesn't sell? Okay. Well, sorry, he doesn't sell, but go to Santana Room. Tell him Dom sent you. Everybody, have a wonderful weekend. Be safe. Have a good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Peace out.